Hello, everyone, and welcome back to For St. Pete's Sake. This is the Political Democratic Podcast where we deep dive into everything political here in Pinellas County, the state of Florida, and beyond. So we will talk about it all. I'm super excited. Today we have a very special guest, but before we get to our guest, I have to introduce my lovely, amazing co-host and my vice president for the Stonewall Democrats of Pinellas County. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Christian. How are you?
Another day in paradise. I'm just not sure whose paradise.
You know,
I'm kidding.
we're gonna have a good weekend though. It looks like it's gonna be sunny and, although we could use some rain, obviously, but we'll enjoy the sun and beach time while we get it.
We got a little bit of rain this weekend, so I'm not asking for too much, but we definitely need a little bit more.
Yeah, we definitely need more.
Well, do you want to introduce our guest?
Absolutely. We are joined this week by Katie, and I hope I'm saying this right, Chorbak.
You are.
Oh wow, Katie
Oh,
I am
Chorbak.
so impressed.
She's joining us on behalf of the 5051 organization, specifically in regards to veterans outreach. And she is here to just talk, and we're going to talk to her more about the 5051 program in general and how they've been engaging veterans in that. And so I'd like to just give Katie a moment to introduce herself to our listeners. Go ahead, Katie.
My name's Katie Torback. I am a Jacksonville native, Army veteran, and I have been involved in veteran-specific activism for a decade. 2020, 2021, we led nationwide protests in regards to the death of Vanessa Guillen, and we got federal law changed. So it's kind of our niche, and we saw this going and everybody's being affected, so we're utilizing that system on a different scale with different issues right now.
Awesome. I'm sorry, repeat, you said you were in which branch of the armed services again?
I was in the Army from 2007 to 2014. I was 74 Delta, which is Chem Bio, so I did chemical and biological warfare for the military.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm medically retired.
Okay. 2007 and 2014, that wasn't a very busy time frame for being in the active military.
yeah,
Obviously, we had a few situations going on in the Middle East at that point. So, I mean, I just,
a couple.
always to start with, thank you for your service. Thank you for doing that for us. So you said you are medically retired now. Is that like what got you into activism using your background as a veteran and then translating that into activism?
It's always like one story, right, that like sparks activism in people. My personal battle buddy, Sergeant Brittany Mitchell, was murdered by her husband on Fort Campbell. I had gotten out of the military. I was home in Jacksonville. She's a native of Jacksonville. So, of course, I found out and she was going to come home. Well, we have Veterans Council here. She was a young black girl from the north side of the
Mm.
city. And we have the largest wall, like remembrance wall outside of DC here in Jacksonville. And they were trying to keep her name off the wall due to a weird, it wasn't even a weird technicality. I'm a policy nerd at heart. So the
Love it.
policy it was written, she should be on the wall. And so at that time, I started attending Veterans Council meetings and advocating. And her name is on the wall, by the way. But it was like a myriad of things. The Veterans Council wanted to leave her off the wall. When her body arrived, veterans came to bring her and her family solace and bring our sister in arms home, and JSO would not escort her body. Yeah, and at her funeral, no city council member came forward. None attended, not the mayor. Um, yeah, so that was like my defining moment in, yeah, I'm not doing that. And
Yeah.
um, I got sober and got really into, like homeless vets, and then just
Yeah.
kind of. it spiraled from there, to be real, to
Right.
be a passion. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I do, obviously we're here in St. Pete and there in St. Pete you have I think a largely visible unhoused population. People are pretty like I mean, there's not the I love the way the St. Pete police interact with them. It's not, as punitive as it could be, especially, in light of some Supreme Court rulings that happened last term, which actually criminalized homelessness. You can actually get arrested for the act of sleeping outside and being unhoused now. And I just, and I always remember how the high percentage of veterans that are unhoused. And it's like veterans and trans youth are like the highest unhoused populations. So, do you want to speak to that? Some more the work that you've done with the unhoused veterans?
Absolutely. So as like an alcoholic in recovery, like to be real, like you're always like trying to be the best at whatever you're doing, whether it's like alcoholism or you're a soldier, like you want to be the
Right.
best. So, I was like, I will be the best volunteer ever. And so I took that on and I took it to heart and I started finding veterans in downtown Jacksonville and just like bringing them in my house. And yeah, and I would get them a job and then get them an apartment and just kind of like cycle them through. And it's where like I guess all right, so I am a Republican, just so you know, like, because you can Google it. Voter registrations are open in this state. I think it's when like my radical shift started happening, like
Mhm.
from like I wasn't far right ever, but started moving very liberal in the social sense of like, hey, if we have like the largest military budget in the world, like why aren't we housing people and doing free healthcare? And like my friends fought for that. Like for everybody to have a better country, and why aren't we doing that? So that shift started in homelessness and veterans specifically, and taking them in my house, and then doing the research into nonprofits in the area and the grant money that they were receiving, and me being like, well, if you give me $35 million, like we'll solve homelessness tomorrow.
Right.
Like,
Right.
and so, because you should be in it for the cause, right? Like, is if you are doing advocacy or activism surrounding a very specific issue, and you're bringing in large amounts of money, like you're putting it in the wrong place. You should want to work yourself out of the job and solve this social issue. And so I think that's when like my shift started happening
Yeah.
towards social justice type issues. I think it's not just a veteran specific issue, but it's a mental health issue a lot within our population. Unchecked PTSD, problems at the VA, and things of that. It's like a myriad of issues, right? Is the intersectionality of many issues within most communities. Is poor funding, not enough mental health resources. But I think a lot of us thrive in chaos, and there is a large amount of veterans that just don't want the responsibility of life. But if you give them the hand up in life, if they need that, if they're, they don't know what they want to do or they just need the help, we could get close to zero, but zero is not attainable,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I've definitely seen the effects of war, and people don't realize how much it affects people. Like I've seen it with my friends and some family, because when you're over there, and you might be able to speak to this, but when you're over there, you're seeing a completely different world.
Yep.
When we're here in the U.S., we don't see the bombed buildings, the people lying on the side of the street. We don't see the actual action of a war. So I think a lot of people sometimes have that disconnect and they won't,
Hmm.
they can't picture that. But obviously being a member of the armed forces and coming home and dealing with that, it's a culture shock, realistically, coming back home because the only thing that is over there in a completely different world.
I think so. Vietnam, right? Like PTSD has always existed. It's just had like vastly different names. So you had like shell shock, and then you like so it's changed over time. Uh, the fact is that we send people to war, right? We train 18-year-old kids to go fight for whatever bullshit they're selling
Yeah.
that week, right? Of like freedom or like
Right.
whatever that you can compel 18-year-olds to go overseas for.
Mhm.
Um, they train you. You're in your own little microcosm society with its own laws, its own rules, its own hierarchy, and it is vastly structured. And so you go overseas like that, you're a unit, but then they bring us back and we're like as human beings, they've done studies on it, we're not wired for that amount of
Mhm.
chaos and violence for that amount of time. And then coming back. And I think the VA has done the best they can. And it's the shit part of,
Yeah. With the
Yeah,
resources that they get too.
yeah,
especially with all the funding cuts and everything that's happened recently.
yeah, so that's why I have our veteran like specific issue like space within the larger 5051 movement is we have a unique place, right? Like we took an oath to the Constitution. Our friends died for that oath, and we believe in it, and we believe in the Constitution, and it's against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
Mhm.
and the freedoms enshrined within it. Like, and so we are a nonpartisan group of veterans. Like we have me, we have other Republicans, and we have like quite a few socialists, which is wild, but I was surprised to learn that recently. Um, Weird, but I was like, oh, that's cool. So we're dedicated to our oath, and everything is getting destroyed.
Yeah.
Like everything. Like our cuts are awful, right? But I like even as a veteran, I think I'm more concerned with like kidnappings and concentration camp. Like it sucks, right, that our benefits are getting cut, but we're like kidnapping people and we're running concentration camps in other countries currently.
Mhm.
And I think that that's a much bigger issue here than me and my subset losing our benefits. But we took the oath, and that's what we're dedicated to is freedom of speech, freedom of press, due process, and all of this. So that's why we exist within our own little circle within the larger 5051 movement.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I love that that you let us know that, that you vote Republican, and that's, everybody's chooses what they do in the voting booth. And but like you said, it's, you have your oath, and the Constitution is, I mean, everybody that, and that's the thing. I'm a policy nerd too. Like I'm a paralegal by trade, so it's like, again, obsessed with the law and the rules and process, and just seeing, these people who just don't care, even despite laying hands on whatever book and hands on hearts and, to whatever deity they allegedly, but just to, yeah, to just, yeah, it's getting to the point where there's no words to it anymore. And that's what I think is great about the 5051 movement is that it is, the ideological part of it is like we all believe in the Constitution. That's the idea, like that's what our ideological thing is truth and justice and the Constitution. Yeah. So
Yeah, one thing I've definitely noticed about the 5051 movement is it seems in a broader term, like the entire movement, from everything that I've seen, is really just protesting what's happening nowadays. And I've seen a lot of different backgrounds join these movements. Like you're saying, you're a Republican, you have all of these different backgrounds of the people that work with you. It truly is like Laura said, it's about defending the Constitution, which our president right now can't even say that he's supposed to uphold that.
Mm.
It's like it's ridiculous. So yeah, I kind of want to move to the 5051 and how that sort of started. Not the big thing, but how you got involved as primarily about the veterans and things like that and what your goals are and talk a little bit more about that.
So I love protesting, guys.
Same. Same.
Like it's just my thing, right? Like I did nationwide protests with women veteran MST, military sexual trauma survivor led protests around the country, 29 cities including Hong Kong. During that time, also BLM and George Floyd was happening, and I was getting tear gassed in downtown Jacksonville. Like I believe in protesting, right? It is a important part of democracy, is that you get your voice heard. So I immediately I'm a Redditor, so I saw it on Reddit and I joined the Reddit, and then I saw it on Facebook and I saw join the Facebook, and I messaged the admins and I was like, hey, like here's my background, here's like our group page so you can see like all of our protests and like the laws that we like were passed and stuff like that. Like, can I help you in any way? Right, like, because I am a strategist, like a high level strategist is what I love. And hey, can I help? And they were like, yeah, sure. So we got in this conversation and they asked me to moderate, and then they let me start like my own little veteran specific group within the larger movement. And so it's kind of wild, right? This is the second time in my life that I'm doing this. But it's a passion. So yeah, I love protesting. And I think it's so inherently important. So
Absolutely.
Women's March, I was out there too. Like
Yeah.
yelling with a cause, it's super cathartic. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, let's do it.
My growing up, my parents worked for grew up in Ohio, and so my parents in Toledo specifically, so we were a Jeep family. Like everybody worked, and so they were union people, and like, if a union anywhere was like there was a if they're on strike, so the Detroit Free Press was on strike, and so my dad went up there and walked the picket line. So it's like it's the same energy, you just it's the same vibe. So I definitely identify with fighting the good fight and standing up with for what you believe in and what's important. um I do like, and totally, if you don't want to answer, it's totally up to you, but I guess like it's very cool hearing you speak. So I guess do you still identify as a Republican?
Oh well, I knew this was going to come up. So
Well,
yeah.
I just wondered.
No, I like it comes up a lot, right? Because this space is predominantly not me. Right? Like it's not many of us out here organizing on a national scale and on a local scale here in Jacksonville that are like
Mhm.
openly Republican.
Right.
I believe in the three tenets, the original tenets
Okay.
of the GOP, which is individual liberty, fiscal responsibility, and small government.
Okay.
I believe in those. And if actual GOP members
Right.
believed in those three tenets, the party would not exist anymore, right? Because
Mhm.
this is a great example. I love arguing policy. I was at a protest here in Jacksonville. We had three agitators. They were active duty members. I went to deal with them. They were not in uniform, but I, wear a Wounded Warrior hat. It's an alumni hat, and I normally wear something veteran, so it's easily identifiable. They said that they were Republicans, and I was like, all right, let's talk policy here, like just policy. I don't really care about your opinion. I have no time for it, nor need. If we're gonna debate fact, let's do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the arguments within my own party don't fall into those three tenets. right? Like, so for example, we talked about the transgender community at
Mhm.
length, right? Because transgender military members just got kicked out. The VA has stopped giving HRT. So, like, it's a myriad attack, even within our own microcosm.
Yeah.
And if you really believe in individual liberty, does it really matter? Like, what, like, who cares? Like, if,
Mhm.
who cares? It's not your business. As long as it doesn't inhibit your personal freedom, and it doesn't, because it doesn't involve you in any of the decision-making process, or really the after of that decision, besides the only decision I have to make is like a pronoun thing, like whether I choose to do that. But it's respectful. I mean, my first name is not Katie. My first name is Caitlin, and I choose to go by Katie. So it's just that simple. It's a societal contract. So when I say that I'm a Republican, I believe in the three original tenets of the GOP, not this. Not exactly sure what to call it besides fascism, like of what is happening with this demagogue of a human being, and it being like very cult-like
Yeah.
behavior. And yeah, so I always say that I am center right, and I like take tests to prove this because I always worry of being like a hypocrite of like, am I really a Democrat? And I just don't know it.
Yeah.
Right? So,
It can
um,
happen.
yeah, and I was like, maybe my like policies have shifted enough that I am no longer a Republican. But I think because I believe in like fiscal responsibility, and I'm a constitutional conservative, and I believe like in amending the Constitution, there's a process for that.
Yep.
Uh, I think that it always keeps me like a smidge right. But when it comes to like like all the social issues, I'm like, yeah, we should all have free healthcare. Like,
Right.
why not?
Right.
So yeah.
Right. There's a difference when we're talking about like small government versus, like you said, the individual freedoms. You don't have to be a big government to say that someone can go and change their gender or their whatever, because that's individual liberty. That's individual freedoms. So again, like you said, it's not hurting anybody else. It's not affecting anybody else. The only decision you have to make after somebody else chooses to do that is whether you're going to respect them enough as a person, as a human being, not as a friend, not as someone you know, but just basic respect, and so I get very, I wouldn't say triggered, but I get very heated whenever somebody says that they can't respect someone's pronouns or their chosen name, because we just saw millions and millions of people respect someone else when they
Right.
chose
The
to change
Pope.
their
Yeah.
name in the Pope.
Yeah.
So, and much respect to Catholics, much respect to the Pope. I love you all. But if you're able to say that Pope Leo, I
It's
believe,
not Pope Bob.
was able to change his name, and you're able to respect that, you're able to respect someone else's
Yeah.
name change. That's
Well,
just
I
my.
mean, and I will. This is my thing. The thing that I bring up of the same thing is like JD Vance. JD Vance is living a chosen name. His name, his birth name. You know, if the Save Act ever passed, like, he's not voting. Like, because and it's yeah, the hypocrisy. But I think it's great that you know, as, especially like being that we're the LGBTQ caucus, like people assume that we have like, more radical beliefs and more lefty and whatever. So I think it's very cool that, we can all just sit here and have a conversation. And like, if you hadn't mentioned, I wouldn't have thought about it. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, that's what's important too, is to like get back to understanding that like we can have differences about policy and stuff. Like we can't have differences about basic humanity though. And I mean, yeah. Yeah, it's like we made Jimmy Carter give up his daggone peanut farm. Like,
Yeah.
So my wife is a far left liberal, and we talk policy all the time.
yeah,
And what it really comes down to is like we all want the same thing, right? Is like Nobody wants starving kids.
No.
Nobody
Right.
wants homeless people that are on fixed income.
Right.
Nobody wants to go broke, like from healthcare. Like we all don't want that. It's just we don't agree on who's going to pay for it. Like, and it's really where the breakdown happens in policy between
Hmm.
the two different sides is like it really is fiscal like responsibility from a
Hmm.
like Republican and a Democrat standpoint is we're
Yeah.
just not going to agree on that of like, who pays for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my ex-husband was he was more he was conservative. He was more conservative when we first started dating, and then he moved in because he was like worried he was hung up on the social stuff, and then like when he got to see like met a gay person, was like, "Oh, it's fine. I survived." So but like he moved in a lot, but yeah, the it was and he was a financial planner too, or is a financial planner. So it's just like obviously numbers and dollars and everything are a really big deal to him. And uh, but like one of the things that he said that there's like for Social Security, for example, on that tax, there's a cap on the income. So if you make over, I think it's $125,000, that's like the max income. That's the max your income is taxed at for Social Security. So if you make 500,000, you're only getting taxed at that. And it's, even he said like obviously you should raise that cap or eliminate it because, that's just fair. And like everybody's going to use Social Security in one way or the other. So yeah, it's just refreshing. And I do, like I said, I think it's really cool that you to come into a space where, it may not, where you're not around people with the same like policy beliefs, but it's nice to know that we all have the same core humanity beliefs.
I think most of my friends are Democrats at this point, right? Like, and it's, I think
They're
it's,
good people. Trust them always. Kidding.
um, so there's a TED Talk and it's called Take the Other to Lunch. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it changed my life. And it's about public like discourse
Mhm.
and doing it in a structured manner so that you really get across to each other and like you set rules and stuff like that. And I employed it after I got out of the military. And I love when people like this just get together and talk because we're all so similar. And I think in a time we're in a time in this country where like civil discourse is just not
It's
going
broken.
well on any front of people who believe in the same thing. But I do think that one of the bigger issues is a two-party system because
Yeah.
people like me exist. I'm sure there's plenty of Democrats that are not happy within their own party. You know what I'm saying? So I think it might be time for the third party to come out as like everybody in the center
Right.
that just agrees like, hey, this is crazy and we have got to stop whatever this is because apparently everybody that has the power to do it like has not.
Yeah.
And we have to band together. Like
Yeah.
my side of the aisle and y'all side. It's
Absolutely.
just like, hey man, everybody is getting hurt. Every
Hmm.
side of the aisle, every economic class, everybody's life sucks.
We're
I,
all being affected. We all just have to be willing to have the genuine conversation of how we fix it
Hmm.
and come to some sort of consensus on that. Because, like you said, we disagree on certain policy aspects of it, but we don't disagree on what the actual policy is. Like, we details can be ironed out and we can work on that and we can come to a consensus. But we all agree, like you said, we shouldn't have homeless veterans. We shouldn't have starving children. We should be able to have access to free healthcare. Um, Whether it's private, I'm not saying that's a whole different debate, but all citizens, I just think it's a human right, a basic human right for people to have access. At the very minimum, they should have access to quality free healthcare, quality free education. That's in my mind a basic human right. So then the conversation needs to be, and that a lot of people agree. Then the conversation needs to be, how do we get there? So when you're, like you coming onto this show, us having this open conversation, like that's really, really important. And I hope that it gets more people, especially on my side, but on both sides, to be just open up and be willing to have an honest conversation. Because we don't see that very often anymore. We just see people going and getting crazy and going immediately for the attacks and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, my big brain idea back in 2020, which I still think we should, there's still time to do and they should do. I wanted to like Buttigieg, obviously, I think he did great as Secretary of Transportation, like, especially going into the spaces to communicate that he does. I think I like wish that like him and AOC would just like do this little like millennial caucus and then just like, and David Hogue can be our fundraiser and we're just gonna kick all the boomers out. The people that are just, I don't want to say all the boomers because there are people that are they're like Bernie, obviously, he's there for the right reasons. He's not addicted to the money and the power. Same Elizabeth Warren. I love Elizabeth Warren. She's not addicted to the money and the power. So like the ones that are like, legit can stay, but sorry, Chuck, you're going. See you later, Schumer. Like you're just addicted to your money and your power. And so that's what I would love is like that coalition of like from the center to the left, like get it together and then we can fight about it the details later because I definitely like in 2015 I voted for Bernie in the primaries and then in 2019 I voted for Elizabeth Warren just because I think like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie are basically the same but like Elizabeth's like here's a 47-step procedure to do it and that speaks to my soul so that's why I loved her more but but yeah I think there's really an opportunity to get to bond together and and you do see it in on our side of the aisle in the National Party right now people are not happy with David Hogue, and they're for people that aren't aware, he's of one of the vice chairs of the National Democratic Party, and he's also part of a organization that's going to primary incumbents that aren't doing their job, and it's not even in like contested districts. He's talking about doing it in very deeply safe districts, and these people that are addicted to their power are flipping out and now want to, kick him out of his vice chair position. And it's just, yeah, it's just, and the same thing like in New York, there for the governor, like one of those Cuomo's is trying to run again, or no, the Cuomo's wants to run for the mayor of New York. The one that was governor wants to run for mayor of New York now. And I'm like, okay, because that'll be just as good as Eric Adams. Like, come on, guys. Yeah. So I mean, it's just. Yeah, I don't know. Shake my fists at everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that we could all agree that on both sides we have a lot of introspection or whatever you want to call it. We have a lot of self-guiding to look at, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, even if we want to talk about like people that are there for the right reasons, even on the Republican side, I can say that like John McCain was there for the right reason. There are a few Republicans there now who are there for the right reason. I don't think that anyone is truly against the Constitution or against America. I think they're, like Laura said, just addicted to their power. So they're getting kind of lost in that. So that's when we need to have, the honest conversation with ourselves about what are we actually doing this for?
Rand Paul seems to be one that's sticking out. And he's always been I think he like is used to be an independent and then started caucusing with ours. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like, yeah, he's one that's at least saying every once in a while, like, hey, this isn't right. So we got one.
Yeah. I definitely want to pivot more into the veterans because you said you worked a lot with veterans, even just outside of the 50-51 space. So let's dive into that a little bit. How exactly did you get involved? Well, you went over that. I'm trying to think of the question that I want to ask because it's a very specific wording. you've done a lot personally, and then you went into this as an organization. You kind of created your own organization, and then now you've created this branch of 5051 to do all of that. Are you guys working with the VA or the veterans that are being affected right now with all the VA cuts and everything like that? How are you guys working into that sense? And what's your general feel about what's going on right now?
So we're kind of working in like a specific silo, right? Like we're a part of the 5051 movement. We all organize in our local areas, and I live in Jacksonville, like I said, and there's 9 leaders of 5051 vets all over the country, all doing the same thing. But we have like very specific demands as veterans. We are doing organizing town halls. We're doing a podcast like this just on civil discourse among veterans of differing political beliefs. We have the 6/6 protests, it's D-Day protests around the country that we're doing, and the main one is in Washington, D.C., centered around D-Day and the fight against fascism and the cuts at the VA. Not only that, federal workers and global diplomacy returning to normal. That's like the 3 things that we would like to see. But we have like very specific demands, some of which is like overturning the trans ban and giving HRT or whatever they need as transgender active duty and veterans. One of our demands is surrounding MST, military sexual trauma, of making that a more streamlined process in the VA so that it's not re-traumatizing to survivors, to return to democratic norms, right? Like right now, global diplomacy is a mess.
Non-existent.
You mean it's not normal to base your entire global policies around a $400 million plane that's being gifted to you? You mean that's not normal? What do you mean?
I think one of the other ones is it's surrounding the VA specifically, rehiring all fired VA employees, not
Like
doing.
800,000, wasn't it?
It's about to be 80,000. So
80,000, 80,000.
yeah, that's
But still a lot.
June. Doing that and then fully fund the PACT Act. So the PACT Act is for burn pit veterans.
Is that the one? Was that the one that Jon Stewart worked on too? I remember hearing about that. Okay, yeah. Okay.
So fully funding that because a lot of my generation has lung issues and stuff that need to be taken care of. And some of the Agent Orange funding comes from that as well. So it's not only like messing up my generation, it's messing up multiple generations of people. So yeah, we have specific demands within our group of things we would like to see change. And one of the ones we're actually working on right now is around deported veterans. People don't realize, but there's been 96,000 deported veterans since Vietnam, including Purple Heart recipients and Silver Star recipients, veterans that have been in this country for decades that are now getting shipped out. And it is the best kept secret. We have partner organizations, 5051 Vets does. One of our partner organizations is Black Deported Veterans of America, and they're like that is their issue. They own it. And so we would like that to stop immediately. Jose Barco is one that's been in the news recently. He is Venezuelan. When Trump took office, they deported him to Venezuela. Venezuela refused him, so they sent him back. So now he's a Purple Heart recipient without a home, and his home is here. He bled for this country. He fought for this country, and that needs to stop. The policy, though, the policy aspect of this, right? Because protesting is great. It's not backed by policy. You're just kind of yelling into the void. So backing that with policy is most people, it's myriad effect. The recruiting in the military needs to change, right? Because they heavily recruit in BIPOC communities and immigrant communities, and with the promise of citizenship, And then there is a process. I don't want anybody to think that there is not a process. There is a process. The process sucks. So when you're in, you can do it, but it's up to your command as to whether they give you the time off of training and stuff to go deal with legal. But when you leave installation, you have to go through like an out processing process, like when you PCS somewhere, and you have to get stamps. Well, there's no stamp for legal. So that's an easy demand and very attainable fix to ensure that this does not continue to happen. So yeah, like people are always like, I saw your jaw drop to that. It is a abhorrent practice that is happening right now in this
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, that's it. There's no tracking for people to be like, this person, even though they weren't born here, they still fought for us. Why are we? That's so wild. But then everything about this administration so far has been pretty wild. Uh,
And well, in
so
Trump's first administration, he really like did the limited the it was in when they were shutting down all the stuff in Afghanistan, and they were supposed to bring the translators and like bring
Yeah.
them over, and the people who all assisted with our troops over there over the years who had been promised that they, and he was like, nah. So, and I mean, yeah, and those were technically like civilian people, civilian Afghanis that just like, risked everything to help the U.S. military on the promise of coming here. And
That's
yeah, I
not
didn't even know that
that's
was
not
happening.
Afghan specific. Don't
oh
think
no.
that like, oh God, no. Oh man. Oh, just go. Here's the truth about this, right? Like most civilians do not understand the military,
Right.
right? Like most don't really know anything how the military works.
Mhm.
They just
Right,
romanticize.
like you made a good point just now about how the recruiting is, and sorry to interrupt you, but oftentimes recruiting is done in places or communities of color, also communities that are impoverished, things like that, because they're basically selling it as, hey, I can get you out of this life, or I can get you citizenship, like you said. So that's, yeah. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can go on a whole rant on this, guys, because it's the military is unique because y'all don't know what happens,
Mhm.
right? Like we have secrets.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot of secrets in the military that y'all don't know about. So we're like deported veterans is one, and how we recruit these people from impoverished communities, from immigrant communities. They fight for this country, and then we let them leave the military, and then they get deported, and it's angering
Yeah.
um, as an entire like thing. But yeah.
Yeah, like literally it's like I've got like a knot in my chest thinking about that. That's just like, and obviously this is, this has happened over multiple administrations.
Yeah. And that
So,
so the Afghan thing, interpreters, that's that's uh that's historically how we treat global diplomacy. Like so don't think in Vietnam we helped them out.
well,
Don't think
right.
in Iraq we went and got all of our allies. Like we generally do not do that. It's just in Afghanistan, it was such a it was such a shit show that it made national news of people hanging off of planes. It's historically what the military does to like people that help us in war. And now, I don't know if y'all follow policy as close as I do, that the Afghan interpreters that people literally risk their lives to go get, and that's a secret too, is we left them, but people in the military and veterans went to go retrieve them with their own money to get
Mhm.
them back to this country to stop that practice. And so they gained asylum here, and it was just revoked.
Yeah.
So now we have Afghan interpreters that are here that are going to get deported and get and like killed. Like there is no doubt they will get killed. So call that what it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, that is it's not new. I don't know why people think that is a new policy. That is the policy of the United States military is we gain the trust of people around us, and then when it like push comes to shove, like we leave them. We
Right.
did it in Vietnam. Like look at Hanoi. Like there's plenty of
Yeah.
history on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's the Afghanistan and the Iraq wars are, the most obviously our most modern wars with the most modern of the media and social media and all that. So that's probably why I'm assuming it. And well, and then, like you said, the withdrawal of everything was just such a mess that, became all the media. But yeah, yeah, I mean, I think everybody, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know. As far as like thinking the military had secrets, like everybody knows the military's got secrets. My great grandfather got disappeared by the military in World War One because he was like the first version of the CIA, and I don't even want to know why he was taken, but it's fine. Um, but the level to it of it is just, yeah, especially when you think about like Vanessa Guillen and the other women vets that have gone through sexual assault, murder, whatever, things like that, and it's covered up. It's move them to another base or just ignored basically.
Yeah, sexual assault in the military is an epidemic. Like that's my passion. Like that's my niche advocacy space within the veteran realm. I am an MST survivor. I am very open about that. It happened 3 times during my career alone. There are women that have 15, 17 in their 20-year span. It is the most abhorrent secret that nobody wants to talk about. Uh, Women make up 15% of the military. But the fact is that 3 out of 4 women are sexually assaulted in some form during their career. But every woman I have ever met has a story. And the reason is there's a lot of research into it, is that ambient sexual harassment is acceptable in the military.
Yep.
It is a cultural norm. And when you have Pete Hegseth at the
Yep.
helm, firing women, and all, by the way, all of the stuff that our group was a part of a larger coalition that did this in 2021 and 2020. The Military Women's Coalition headed it, but it was made up of like a bunch of women veteran. It's kind of like 50-51 movement now, but just like women veteran specific. We were like the protesting arm. So when this is all happening, and now Pete Hegseth has deleted all of that, every single piece that we have put in to protect military women has now been rolled back. Some SHARP programs have been stopped. And when I tell you that I did this and I heard 5 generations of women's stories, like that is the honest truth. And if we continue down this path, the list of names that we have of people that were murdered after they reported, Carrie Goodwin, Vanessa Guillen, Lavina Johnson, to name a few, we have an entire list that is going to get much longer, like a much longer list if we don't address it head on. But the fact is it's not a women veteran issue.
Right.
And like we are a numbers person. 5 out of 10 men in the military also suffer from sexual assault during their service. And if you look at the numbers, it's more men than women. So why women are like always at the head of this fight is beyond me. But we're willing to shoulder that cost to try and change it for the entire military. Like that is a good kept secret. The amount of people that are like killed in training accidents due to negligence, like far beyond gross negligence in this country, you'll never find out about, right? Like there's so many problems, like serious problems within the military that nobody wants to talk about and nobody wants to fix. We'll wait until they become the VA's issue. Like, why aren't we actually trying to prevent rape?
Right.
Like, why aren't we actually kicking people out? because out of 250,000 reports of sexual assault in the military, do y'all want to take a wild guess of how many people got kicked out of the military out of that number?
Oh,
Is it less than 100?
no.
9.
9. Wow. That's, yeah.
9.
Mm.
So yeah, like it's my passion because as a survivor, as a woman, and as a soldier,
Mhm.
that should stop. It is like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But when you give 18 to 22-year-old men power and you tell them that they are judge, jury, and executioner,
Yeah.
that tends to bleed into their own personal lives, not just on duty.
Yeah.
And so this tends to happen within a certain demographic. But yeah, like there's issues. I look at the VA. The VA sucks at MST, guys. Like, I don't know if you know the VA process for trying to get disability for PTSD, but it is the most re-traumatizing bullshit I've ever seen in my life. You have to get a battle buddy letter,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? Like, so you have to submit a battle buddy letter, you need a nexus letter. Like, it's a shit show. And I listened to women veterans and I still do. One just stayed at my house like 2 weeks ago to talk about her claim that keeps getting denied, and she's in her 60s.
Oh my God.
Right? You couldn't report sexual assault until 1991.
Wow.
So that demographic, how do we get them benefits for PTSD? How do we get that fixed? Because you couldn't even report it. And so
Right.
now you have to give a battle buddy letter.
Yeah.
Like, I had to do that, me personally. So
Yeah.
it's strange when like 10 years later you have to call up your battle buddy and be like, yo,
Yeah.
you're
Hey, you want to write a letter about the most traumatizing
yeah,
portion of your life? Like, so it's you're traumatizing yourself and someone else. And yeah, I have a friend that is going through, and he's mostly got mostly disabled, but it's been a battle and like expensive because his family's been able to involve a lawyer to help, but it's still like it's just. Oh, it shouldn't. We just like, yeah, again, going back to just what we were talking about before, humanity, like respecting someone's humanity and that, like, believe that. I don't know. Yeah. But, it is, like you said, the 18 to 22 thing is, that is such a, when you think about it and you think about like the scientific portion of it too, like their little frontal lobes are still scrambled eggs and you're just feeding and we just feed so much like raw toxicity in there during an extremely formative time. Like you're right, no wonder the assault the issues that we have that there are there. And and also one of the things he said is like it is the sexual assault for men actually is numerically victims are higher than women. And one of the things that I thought that made me think about it is there's the reason the L is first in the LGBTQ, and that's because the lesbians, the women, the ladies were always the ones that are we were the ones taking care of our brothers and in the HIV crisis. So that's it made me think of that too. Like that's women are always the ones up there carrying the torch first for everybody. So thank you for that again.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's important, right? Like, it's not a men's issue. It's an everybody issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if
Absolutely.
there's still a stigma,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Hmm.
you obviously, like, I am masculine. Like, the toxic masculinity in the military prevents more men from coming forward. And there are like three very, very vocal national advocates that are men, that encourage other men to come forward. Because, like I said, like, we only make up 15% of the military women, and it's probably drastically going to be lower during PTEXF. So even if 15% came forward, that's not enough. Like, we need our brothers in arms to speak openly and speak outly, right? Because And call out your battle buddies, guys. Like if you're
Right.
military and y'all watch this, call out your battle buddies because every woman I know has a story, but not any men I know a rapist. And the numbers game doesn't lie. So call out your own. Like we're
For
tired
sure.
of calling them out. You call them out.
Yeah. That's a really important conversation to have. So I'm going to ask you, will you come back in a couple of weeks' time? We'll set it up, but I would love to have another conversation with you and actually go into that sort of thing, less about the 5051, more about your experiences, what you're fighting for, things like that.
Yeah.
So if we could do that, I just looked at the time and realized that it's almost 9 o'clock here where I'm at. So we do have to move on to our last segment, though, which is our shout out or shut down. So Laura and I can go before you just to give you an idea of what it's about. So again, you can shout out something positive or shut down something negative that's happening. And I really want to take some time and I'm going to get a little personal and shout out you guys in 5051, but also specifically
Uh-oh.
you guys on the veteran side of that at all as well, involved in that. Oh, did I lose you?
Nope, you're good now.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, but I've been talking to a lot of the members of 5051, talking with you more and seeing everything that you guys are doing, especially on the veteran side and everything like that. It's incredible to see everyone mobilizing and using their voice. And I hope that that passion that we've seen across the country continues. I hope that that movement continues. So I'm really, really proud to see you guys out there working, and I was a part of one here in St. Pete a few weeks ago. It was just absolutely beautiful to see. So I definitely have to shout out that whole you guys in general 5051, but specifically you guys on the veteran side as well. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Okay, my this week I have a shutdown and it's really petty. So bear with me. My apartment complex changed the rules of parking at the beginning of the month, like literally in the middle of everybody's lease. People were paying for reserved spots. They're like, no, not that's not a thing anymore. And now gave us all assigned spots, which is like fine, whatever. But also they changed the rules and said only one vehicle per unit. So if you have a two bedroom, or even if you live with someone, like, nope, not, and you only one person can park inside, and then the other person has to park all the way out the gate. There's not street parking. There's like five parking spots for like guest parking. So guest parking's gone. Like there's this little roundabout that we go around and people are like literally parking on top of it just to make a point to the leasing center. Like it's there was a guy here that was making fairly popular TikToks that was, had like several 100,000 views and many likes, and they sent him a cease and desist. So here's my time to say, Lake McGorry, you guys are really, really screwing with your residents. Also, by the way, yeah, I am a paralegal and I work at a law firm that deals with tenants' rights and whatnot. So, you can't change people's leases in the middle of the contract. So, do better, and I'm coming for you. So, that's my shutdown.
I will do a shout out to all the brand new activists going out for the first time for protests around the country. There is always space for brand new activists, and I want to shout them out. Like the amount of people that have never done this, that have never been in this space, that are doing one man protests in deeply red states and deeply red cities, standing with a sign. We see you, everybody around the country sees you. So I want to shout them out and know, let them know as a Republican, they're not alone, right? Like we're all in this together, like, and your small effort matters. Like your very small sign holding, like that matters. So welcome.
Every person out there with you, every person matters. Every person is important for this movement. We need every single voice to be heard. So absolutely, I will join you on that.
For sure. Thanks for cleaning up my petty one. Thanks.
Well, I'm also kind of mad for you about that petty one. I'm like, they got the right one having a paralegal
Right.
there. So, I'm not worried about it. I know you'll take care of it. All right. So, well, that does bring us to the end of our recording today. So I want to thank everybody for joining us, paying attention, and watching another episode of For St. Pete's Sake. Katie, thank you so much for joining us. As I said, we will have you back because there's plenty more to talk about, and I do want to talk to you about it.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Please remember to like and follow us we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can find us at For St. Pete's Sake. That's for Saint.Pete's Sake. And if you could subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your pods or on YouTube, leave us a little comment, a little rate and review. That'll help too. We'll be back next week with more stories from the people doing hard work to make your community better. Until next time, for St. Pete's sake, keep pushing for change.